University is sponsored by Marco's Pizzeria and Grill in Aston, PA. Make sure you go and try one of their specialty salads, my personal favorite, the tequila lime salad, or you can go and try their buffalo chicken pizza. Welcome to U2NIVERSITY. My name is RJ, and welcome our special guest, Christian. How you doing, bro?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good, bro. So we're going to get right into it, and I appreciate you coming out, too. So you went to Octorara, and then you transferred to Haverford School. Mm-hmm. Tell me about the transition from Octorara to Haverford School.
Yeah, it was definitely a transition. I had to drive. Well, I took the train for the first year because I was underage. I couldn't drive at that point. So I stayed in Octorara. It made sense. Like from an age standpoint, I had to reclass anyway. I wanted to at least, and I was young, so I made that change. And I was, I was nervous at first. You're going to a new area. It's really a new demographic. From the middle of kind of nowhere, and then I'm going to the main line, one of the richest areas in the country, all boys school. So it was definitely a transition, but it was one that I enjoyed. One I'm very grateful for, and one that I made that same decision over and over again if I could.
Okay. You said, in your statement that you had to reclass, and I kind of want to touch on that a little bit today because reclassing is so big in our high school, middle school, and they're actually cracking down on it a lot now. Mm-hmm. So tell me about that whole situation with reclassing back then compared to now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure. Like, I'm not sure if it's social media or what it is. I mean, I think that reclassing was definitely a thing. A lot of kids back when I was in middle school did it when they were in middle school before they got to high school. Right. Some did it once they got to high school. But I think it really depends on the reasons. For some kids like myself, like when you're young, like if that's what you feel like you need to do, for whether that's academic or athletic or whatever the case may be, then, I always support it. It doesn't hurt to have that extra year of experience going in. The issue that starts to run into is that when you reclass in high school or middle school more than once, or if you reclass and then you go to college and then you redshirt, now all of a sudden you're a 21-year-old freshman or 20-year-old freshman, and the timeline kind of gets drawn out a little bit and stretched out a little bit more than it should.
Right. My whole thing with reclassing is, and I tell my high school kids that I coach all the time, is it's like most of them do it not for the right reasons. They do it because, I didn't score enough points this year, or I didn't do this year, and, I think I could do it against, the grade that's coming up next. Mm-hmm. So, when we speaking of basketball, you want to have the competition. You want to kind of push yourself a little bit. And eventually you're going to have to go back up against those kids who are getting better while you playing against competition that's not really at your level when you should be getting better. Yeah. But yeah, I appreciate that, you giving that game to the younger kids and the younger generation and them understanding, the actual purpose of the whole reclass. Yeah, for sure. So talk about the Haverford School. What was your experience like there? And we're going to dive into a little bit of your accolades there, but, tell me about your experience.
No, it was great. It was a little bit of a transition, a little slow at first. I didn't really want to go. I was supposed to go to Girard College with my AAU coach, but then he didn't end up getting the job, and then, I was kind of scrambling. So then, Haverford presented itself, and I remember, driving there and thinking, I'm looking for a reason not to go. But there wasn't a reason, and it was a place where it was going to make me uncomfortable, which was great, a place that was going to make me have to learn a lot. I was always pretty smart, but I'd be in a new place where all the kids are going to Ivy League schools, and, they've been having the top of the education since day one. So it was great. I met a lot of my best friends, Jameer Nelson Jr. and Karan Randolph, Asim Richards, Nasir Smith. There's just a bunch of guys who I still stay in contact with to this day. Okay. So I'm really, really grateful for that.
So you said Jameer's name. How was it playing with, Jameer in high school and then, also playing with him at UD this year?
Yeah, that's it's basically my blood brother at this point in time. We've been, best friends for 7 years or whatever it's been now at this point. It was great. It was a great experience. It's amazing to see his transition and his progression through it. He was always good. Don't get me wrong. He was never a bad basketball player. Right. But just growing year after year after year. And even the jump from when I played him when I was at LaSalle and he was at Delaware to then playing with him when I'm at Delaware, he's just evolving at an unreal level, and I'm really proud of him to see him do that.
Yeah, that's great. And he's transferring to TCU, right?
Yep, TCU.
Okay. So your sophomore year, if I'm not mistaken, you won Chestnut American Player of the Year. Mm-hmm. And then going into junior year of high school, big jump. You went from 18.9 points a game, 10 rebounds, 2 steals, and you guys led the Interact League that year to their first title since the 90s.
Yep.
Mistaken. Okay. So tell me about that year. Like, that's a big, jump from sophomore year to junior year for you, and then helping your high school team, you and all, of course, your teammates get to that next level since the 90s. That's a big jump.
Yeah, so got to go back a little bit. My freshman year at Octorara, I was a sixth man on a team that went to the States.
Okay.
We lost to a Carroll team that had Derek Jones, Josh Sharkey, Dave Beatty, Ryan Daly, Ernest, the big kid that went to Temple, a bunch of kids. I averaged 4.5 points a game. Sophomore year at Octorara, I averaged 24 and 8 or something like that. That's when I won Chestnut American Player of the Year. When I went to Haverford my first year sophomore, I think I averaged like 14 points. It was a transition.
Right.
Chestnut's a really good league. Interact is also a really good league. You play a lot of teams. We played PCL teams. We played a bunch of different teams. So it was just a new environment. We started off 5-0 and we thought that we had a chance to win the league sophomore year, and then we lost, I think, 3 in a row to start the second 5-game stretch in the second half. So going into junior year, we knew we had a really good team, and just the way that we connected. Like we loved each other. We were great. We had a lot of people who knew their role and did their things, and I happened to shine. I ended up winning Interact Player of the Year, but it could have been a couple of us. It could have been Karan Randolph. Like it could have been a co-MVP. It could have been a lot of different things.
Right. And you were 2-time Interact Player of the Year, right?
Yeah, junior, senior. Yeah.
Senior year. Okay, so then senior year, again, y'all go back that year, right? And y'all are 28-0 that season.
Yeah.
So talk about the transition from the junior year to senior year, but the team aspect of everything and how everything kind of just connected at that point.
Yeah, so, I remember I knew we were going to be good senior year because junior year when we were runners-up in the state championship, we lost to Hill School, which had like Chase Audich, who played at Northwestern, and Nick Alkigos and stuff like that. Like when we got our medals, half the team threw them out in the locker room. Because it was like we won a second place medal. You know what I'm saying? Senior year came around, we lost like our point guard and some other guys and stuff like that. But then we had like Jamil Brown, that was going to be a freshman, and Tyler Seward and Jalen Stinson, all these young guys who were coming up and stuff like that. We all took a jump. Like, I think I averaged like 24 or something that year, and Jameer didn't play a little bit, but he was great. For anytime he played, he was amazing. Awesome Richards, who is now in the NFL, was our big man. So you have a 6'5", 300-pound center, like, and a bunch of shooters around us. Like, it just was magical. And, it started years before that. But that was kind of like the pinnacle of our success. Okay.
So talk about the, practice environments of that. Talk about the, again, like the team-oriented, but not just like, what you guys are doing of course, as a team, but like chemistry-wise, like, outside of the year before, like you guys are coming in, like you said, you guys threw away those medals, like you have some type of motivation to get back. So, talk about like what practices were like, how that atmosphere was.
Yeah, no, we were locked in. I mean, Coach Burney is a great coach. He's amazing. He didn't practice us long. Like, we didn't have long, drawn-out practices and stuff like that. But, like I said, the guys were like, we were always around each other. Like, you wouldn't catch me without Jameer or Asim. Millsy was always around. Like, all the guys were around. Gavin Burke. Just everybody who was on the basketball team, like, we just cared for each other. And it wasn't always pretty. I think that's kind of like one of the signs that I knew that, we had a chance was, I remember in the summertime, like, people were arguing. And, like, when teams are arguing early, it's kind of a good sign because you're competitive and, guys want to win and stuff like that. And that same fight was the reason we won. Like, we shouldn't, truth be told, we probably shouldn't have beat Westtown. At that point in time, they had a bunch of kids, like, their whole team was high major. They had, like, 7 or 8 high major kids. But we just didn't give up. We were down, I think, 7 or 8, and we just kept fighting. And then we found ourselves, a chance to win, and we ended up winning in overtime.
That's what's up. That's another great point. You guys just kind of push into the end. And like you said, like, it's starting early in the summertime, where you just grinding everything out, getting out all the kinks. So by the time the season come around, like, everything just flows.
For sure.
That's great. So you were a 2,000-point scorer in high school?
Yeah, just under 2,400.
Just under 2,400. Yeah. It takes a lot for people to get to that 1,000. So that's a big accomplishment. Tell me the feeling, about when you got to that 1,000 and then when you got to the 2,000 points.
Yeah, so growing up, I wanted to break. This guy's name is Tyrone White. I think he was an all-time leading scorer at Octavera. He was at like 1,500 points. I had 800, I think exactly, or something along those lines, leaving Octavera. I got my 1,000 points early, so I played 5 years, so it was kind of broken up. I had 800 at Octavera, and then I was like, you know what, career points to me is like, okay, we got 5 years, so maybe it's a little bit different. But going into Haverford, I wanted to break the record.
Right.
It was Henry Fairfax that held it. It's been that way for, I think, 20 years or something like that.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what his number was, but I had a countdown on my phone. I knew exactly what I needed, how close I was, how many points I was from getting it. Yeah, and I became all-time leading scorer against Camden. I went to the free throw line. My grandparents were there. They were in town, and that's the only game that they were going to see. And there was 2 seconds left, and I had to make 2 free throws to get the record.
Wow. Okay.
So I made them both. Ended up getting the record. I think I finished with 17 or 1,600 at Haverford in 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a good feeling.
Yeah.
It was a fun feeling.
That's definitely a great feeling. So, transitioning from Haverford to LaSalle.
Yeah.
What was the recruiting process like? What made you choose LaSalle? What other colleges were looking at you? What was that whole process like?
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean, I finished with 19 Division I offers, I think it was. Yeah. I mean, it was a difficult decision. I was going to I was down to 4 or 5 schools. I was going to go to Bowling Green, which is in Ohio. It's in the MAC.
Okay.
Rice, which is in Houston, Texas. It's in this Conference USA. Princeton or LaSalle. LaSalle came in very late. I probably was going to go to Princeton if I didn't go to LaSalle.
Okay.
But, there was something that I was kind of chasing. I felt like I wanted to go to a higher level, higher conference, which I would probably suggest, the next kid not necessarily make that decision. Wherever you're going, the CAA is a great conference.
Okay.
Don't overlook any of those conferences. But I think I was chasing a certain, level. And when LaSalle came around, my brother went there. It's in Philadelphia. It just kind of seemed like the right spot, so I jumped on it.
Okay. That's what's up. So, kind of piggybacking a little bit here. What was the AAU atmosphere like in regards to kind of pushing you for college basketball? And I think there's a difference, of course, from AAU when you go back to just your high school. So kind of dive into the difference. What the atmosphere was like with AAU when you were playing, and how that also made you a little better, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I mean, I argue with people about it all the time. I think Philadelphia basketball is the best basketball, and the Tri-State area is the best basketball in the country. I mean, you always had the DMV, you had Cali and stuff like that, Texas even, but there's not a more centralized area where there's as good as basketball as there is in Philadelphia. KLO Elite, Team Final, Philly Pride, We Are One, and then even teams. The local teams around here, you're not really facing a bad team.
Right.
My class they had some players. I mean, Eric, I think We Are One had Bones Highland, Eric Dixon, Isaiah Wong. I mean, you're talking about a really good team.
Right.
So no, it definitely helped me. I think that Philadelphia basketball has always been great. I mean, if you look at all the people who've even come from Philadelphia and Chester areas, I mean, you can go through you have Kobe Bryant, and you have Will Chamberlain, and then you have arguably one of the best college basketball players of all time, and Jameer Nelson Sr., and you have, all these Rip Hamilton and Coach. It's just there's so much talent up here.
Yeah.
So it gets you ready. You can't duck it, because Philadelphia attitude isn't. You can't duck smoke in Philadelphia.
Right.
You can't,
exactly.
That's not how it goes.
Yep. That's great. And you played for KLO.
Yeah. Right.
So tell me a little bit about that. Playing for KLO Elite, what the atmosphere was like there, and how they prepared you.
Yeah, I owe everything to Kyle Sample and Lonnie Lowry. Those are the two that really took this next step with me. Lonnie Lowry is Kyle Lowry's brother. He's a AAU program director of KLO Elite. He runs everything. Kyle Sample was my head coach, and then Aaron Baker was my assistant coach. No, KLO was the most practices were you didn't want to go to practice. It was probably the most physical team in the Philadelphia area. Final had the talent and stuff like that. KLO is just a bunch of guys who just wanted to get it.
Yeah.
And we played actual tackle basketball in practice. We've done charge drills, diving. It was just that kind of level. So now when I'm in college, I don't care who I play against.
Right.
The physicality doesn't bother me, because I had to do it every day in high school.
Okay. And that's a great atmosphere to be in, because like you said, it's just preparing you for that next level, especially the physicality wise, the mental wise, people don't want to take charges. People don't want to dive on the floor for the ball. Like, I see it all the time when we go to games. Like, you know, you want it, you got to go get it. Mm-hmm. So definitely. So, you know, let's dive into a little bit of LaSalle. What was it like playing there? What was balancing your classes like with basketball? You know, life at, you know, going into college. What was that like?
LaSalle's a different place, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. I mean, I think that that's something that I've grown over the past year, even more. You know, I go to Philadelphia. I was there last night for the Brotherly Love Pro-Am, and it's like just thinking about my experience at LaSalle, like, it was amazing. I mean, you're in the A-10, which, I mean, if you're not talking about Power 5, it's like the A-10 American and like the Mountain West are like right there. I mean, facilities weren't great. I mean, LaSalle's a very small school, so you know everybody. You know, classes are always the same people over and over again, but that kind of brings like a certain like family feel to the campus. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time. I enjoyed playing with all the guys. I keep up with some of them still. Like, it's all love there.
Okay. So freshman, sophomore year, you averaged about, you know, 8-9 points a game. What is that like going from averaging in high school? You're averaging 20, 24, 25 points a game, you know, being the go-to guy, then coming to college. And I tell this to my guys all the time, my younger guys, like, not everybody can go to college and even average 10 to 15 points. For sure. So, like, what is that transition like from, you know, being a guy on your high school team to going into college and you just having to adjust to that new atmosphere?
Yeah, I think every college kid that you'll ask and every pro that you'll ask or every even like adult that you'll ask will all like give advice on it, and then know everybody that's young will hear it, but they just will never. Like, I heard it, I just didn't want to listen to it either, because you always feel like you're the exception to the rule, you know? Like,
right.
I'm gonna be the one that scored 20 in high school, then came in and scored 20. If you're scoring 20 points a game in the A-10, you're going to the NBA first round. You know, I don't think Bones Highland even scored that, or Obi Toppin didn't score that. So, you know, for me it was difficult because I did have a certain image. I did have a certain vision. I felt like I was, you know, like an underdog. I was counted out a little bit, so I thought that it was going to be something different. And I got humble, which is great. I mean, I think that that's amazing. Like, freshman year, you're supposed to go through that. And I think back to freshman year and thinking, like, oh, it's all over and everything is in, like, shambles. And then now I have my freshmen who are 3 years younger than them. I'm just telling them, like, just run your race. Like, right. You have time. Like, go through it. So, no, it was a great experience. I mean, we didn't win a lot, but I learned a lot. Like, I learned a lot from LaSalle that I'll take with me everywhere. Okay. Basketball and out.
Okay. Any big games that you personally remember at LaSalle that kind of just stick out to you?
Like us winning or like my personal game?
Winning, personal game, anything. Tell me about any, you know, even just a favorite experience while you were there, like in a game.
Yeah, I mean, we beat Dayton at Dayton my sophomore year, I believe. Okay. Which I don't think that's been done in a long time. I actually have a winning record against Dayton at LaSalle, which I don't know how many people can say that.
Right.
I mean, everybody in my class can say that, but like, it's not really a thing. But no, there's been a couple good experiences. I mean, it's just the games that you're in. Like, we beat St. Louis, we beat Richmond, you know, we beat Dayton, we beat all the top teams. Beat St. Bonaventures, like, we beat all the teams, and those games always stick out. Playing against St. Joe's is always a great experience. Okay. Villanova is a great experience usually until you start playing, because I don't think we like came within 20 anytime I played against Nova. But those were great experiences. And then obviously like the personal games too. Like, I had some good games where I felt really good afterwards. You know?
Okay. So what caused your transition to go from LaSalle to Delaware, University of Delaware?
I just felt like it was time. I mean, it was very difficult. My junior year at LaSalle, I hit like probably the lowest point I have in my life from a mental health standpoint. Like, it was just a lot. It was weighing on me, and you know, I didn't take long. Like, and it was probably like one of the things I regret is like being half foot in, half foot out, or 1 foot in, 1 foot out at LaSalle my last year, especially towards the end of the year. But you know, I was just ready for a change, and I didn't know where I was going to go. I mean, to be honest, I knew Delaware was always going to be an option because I play against Delaware, and Jameer went to Delaware, and it's close to home and stuff like that. But I didn't really have a game plan going in. I just knew that I just needed a new scene.
Okay. You talked about your mental health, and we as a culture are now kind of seeing that more, because in the past we don't always look at mental health. And I've always heard my whole life, any sport that we play is always 80% mental, 20% physical.
Yeah.
But coaches, even us as players, like, we don't ever really tap into the mental aspect. We kind of just think when people say mental, oh, that's just your IQ and how you think about the game. But, like, it's really deeper than that. So tell me a little bit about, you know, like you said, like you had to, you know, that was your biggest year mental health wise. So what did you have to do to kind of get yourself back into a good space? What did it take? What did it look like? Like, dive into a little bit of that.
Yeah, I think, you know, Instagram and Twitter and stuff really started coming around when I got like to 10 or 11. So I didn't really even see the full effect of it. I know the young guys now have it a lot more. But it's just when you're in a constant space of social media, in our generation, you compare yourself to everybody. And you compare yourself to other people's highs. You know, people's life. Like, you think like, oh, well, because they're doing this. Like, I could post a highlight tape from my college career and people could think I scored 15 points a game. You know, but nobody posts their turnovers or that stuff. So, like, for me, it was always a comparison thing. It was actually, like, kind of ironic because Deion Waiters came out. I don't know if you saw Deion Waiters came out, I think, yesterday talking about it. And it was like, when you get into that rut, like, you just want to sleep. You don't even really want to hoop anymore. It's just, like, your mind is just not there. For me, it was a long battle, but I kind of just started, like, taking care of myself. You know, I think as men, you don't do that. But it's big, you know, and to me, it was multiple steps, like, daily habits. What am I going to do on a daily basis? You know, am I going to meditate? Am I going to do this? And then it was also, like, even getting into more scripture stuff, getting more into my faith and stuff like that. I know that there's like, my favorite quote is John 13:7, which is, like, I'm not going to be perfect with it, but basically, like, you won't know now, but eventually it'll make sense, you know? And that's why I just kept reminding myself, like, I'm not sure why I'm going through what I'm going through, but at some point in time it's going to make sense. And then fast forward to now, like, I still don't understand why it makes sense, but I can understand that it does make sense even a little bit. So for me, it was just having faith in something that I couldn't see. And once I did that, like, I was starting to feel like myself again. I started hooping and having fun again, and it was, you know, it was great.
Yeah, that's a good, you know, lesson right there, for a lot of people, you know, kind of putting your faith in whomever you may believe, but, you know, definitely, like you said, you know, from scripture, you know, that is a big thing. And we don't do that a lot as kids because, you know, it's right now, well, not us as kids, but kids nowadays, like, they don't look at the scripture because it's not cool. It's because not what their friends is doing. Like you said, like, everybody just looks at social media because that's the best thing to do. So, you know, that's definitely a great thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I can add with that is that, like, for anybody that, like, especially men that are listening or young kids that are listening, like, it's not any less manly to struggle with these things. And, you know what I'm saying? I think that a lot of kids feel that way, like, oh, I'm going to be judged or, oh, I'm going to be this. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to take care of yourself. Yep. And anybody who's going to say anything about that or make fun of you, whatever, they're probably dealing with their own demons, their own problems anyway. So you just have to kind of run your race. You know, that's like my thing in life is just run your race. Like, go about how you want to go about it. Take care of yourself, though, because at the end of the day, like, those people aren't going to be around, you know, for the rest of your life. So it's only going to be just you. So you got to kind of get yourself in order.
100%. So you said you kind of got back into your space. You started having fun hooping again. So tell me about the experience at Delaware this year and how everything went.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great year. I mean, we didn't do what we wanted to do. Didn't accomplish what we wanted to accomplish, but I think each individual can say, like, that they learned something from this situation, and I think that we got better. We dealt with a lot of injuries. Jameer was hurt. Jair got hurt. You know, some guys come off the bench got hurt. Like, and we didn't play a ton of people this year. We played a lot of minutes and stuff like that. So when you have injuries and stuff like that, it's just hard. But you know, it was great. I think that we competed, like, most games. Obviously, the last game we didn't, but I had a lot of fun. You know, I grew a lot of relationships with the guys there. It's just a great atmosphere. I mean, it's a great situation, great support staff, great coaching staff. Like, just everything about it is amazing.
Okay, so what are you looking forward to this year going in? Like, is this going to be your last year going in? And, you know, what's the plan?
Yeah, so it's a new challenge that I think a lot of schools are dealing with, but we have 6 new guys and 6 guys who are coming back. So it's 50-50.
Right.
And me, I'm a team captain on the team, so I'm looking forward to just the process of, like, learning how to, you know, like, integrate everybody into a new team in a very short amount of time and enjoy it and build genuine new relationships that I didn't previously have. All the new guys are great. I love all of them. All the guys who are coming back are great. I mean, we have a group of great guys, you know, and we have a lot of talent. So it's just about, you know, putting that work in, going the extra mile to, like, be around each other, grow, so, you know, so we can run it back. Because I think that we have a chance to be better this year than we did last year.
Okay. So, and not everybody knows this, but, like, after you're done here, going out of this year, what are you thinking about? Are you thinking about, G League? Are you thinking about overseas? Where are you carrying everything to?
I don't have an answer to that. I think it depends on really how the year goes, and the opportunities to present themselves afterwards. I mean, as somebody that like I do focus, I have like a plan, like a genuine plan, but I'm also like so locked into the now right now that, like if I handle my work now, like at the end of the day, I need to win and I need to be able to put up some numbers, and if I can do both, then everything will fall in line. So.
Okay, I like it. So a couple quick hitters, and a lot of other, big name podcasts like the Draymond Greens and the Paul Georges and Through the Wires, everything like that. They typically like to ask this question. So who do you feel like kind of gave you to your welcome to the moment basketball type of thing in high school, middle school, kind of like who put you in a place where you kind of had to be like, all right, I got to step my game up or anything like that?
Oh, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, not that it was bad. It's just, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I got Sky Lewis dunked on me. I mean, it happens to the best of us, but with like a putback. That's probably one of them. But I don't know. You run into some players that just like I mean, I guess my moment would be when I was a sophomore, when I was still active. We played in Dono Frio, and it was Cam Reddish, Lamar Stevens, and Josh. It was a bunch of guys, man. It really wasn't a fair team. And I got a fast break, and I just heard Lamar coming from behind. So I just went like completely like fake jelly the other side and just blew it. And he didn't even jump, but it was just a thought of like, you have him like coming like trailing behind you, like you got to get this either high off the glass or you got to switch it up because he's going to put it against the backboard.
Right. Okay. Well, describe a good moment. A moment that you kind of felt like I can really like just I can be him. Like what moment would that be?
Probably two moments. I think my last ever AAU game on the Adidas circuit, probably three. So we played Team Rio my sophomore year maybe. Team that Sky Lewis, Brian Antoine, and them. I think I had 27 or 26 or something like that. That was one moment. Second moment was my last ever Adidas Gauntlet game. It was in LA, and I had, I think, 22 and 21.
Wow. Okay.
And then the third moment would be my senior year against Malvern. It was basically like if we wanted to win the league outright, we had to beat them at home. Okay. It went 3 overtimes. I think I finished with 37, 21, and 8 or something like that.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, maybe I'm getting a little somewhere.
Okay, definitely. What has the game of basketball taught you to carry on throughout life?
I mean, it really just means like, to me, it's no different. Like, I think basketball in Philadelphia is kind of synonymous with like, you just can't duck your tail. Like, at the end of the day, you're going to lace them up. It's you versus the man in front of you. I know it's a team game, but everybody has their assignment. So I think for me, it's like I had to learn a lot because I'm 6'5" and a half without shoes on. Right. Not even probably. But at one point in time, like this past year, I was leading the country in defensive rebounds in all Division I. And it was just because of like my will and my fight, and that's always been it for me. Like I'm not gonna be the most talented in anything, basketball, maybe even the smartest, whatever, but I'm gonna work harder than anybody. That's kind of like the thing that I've learned through this, and I've appreciated.
Okay. My last question, and I just want to kind of piggyback off of what you just said. Work ethic. What advice can you give, or who has kind of instilled the work ethic in you to kind of just continue to just get after it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was somewhat born with like a certain work ethic, but it definitely expanded when I started working out Kyle Sample. Because, I'm working out pros, and, you see what they do on a daily basis. And they're already getting paid. Right. So, like, what are we doing if we're not getting paid? And, I think that I had a lot of long conversations with him and Lonnie Lauer. I mentioned them a lot, but, like, it's just a matter of, like, there's very few people in this world who can just naturally be skilled enough to not work and still be really good.
Yeah.
But those are also the people who end up working incredibly hard. Those are the Kevin Durant's and Devin Booker. So, like, you can't – if they're not cheating the grind, then, like, who are we if we're not them to do that?
Right.
Basketball, I think it's hard for a lot of kids, including myself, because, you have friends back home and you have a bunch of things that they're doing, and, they have like, they have car meets, or they have like little stuff here, they have little stuff there, and you're like, I don't want to miss these moments. But then you realize, like, when you get in the gym, like, I'm going to school for free. I've traveled all around the country for free. Like, I'm not going to Vegas on AAU trips and paying for anything, you know what I'm saying? Like, you meet new people, like, you get exposed to a new part of life. And, like, I'm a believer. I think Fred Taylor said it on The Pivot, or I'm an athlete, but, like, exposure leads to expansion. So, like, you wouldn't even know, like, how to expand if you don't get exposed to it. But you can't get exposed to it if you're not putting the work in. Right. So, for me, it's like a linear thing where, like, it all starts with the work. You can't cheat that.
Yeah. Well, bro, I definitely appreciate you coming on. You've thrown out some great gems for the young people watching, and even anybody our age that's watching. I thank you for coming on the pod, bro.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it, bro.
Of course.